Hi everyone, my name is Kenesha and you are watching God Moments. I created this channel as a reminder that God is real and intimately involved with each and every detail of our lives, whether we realize it or not. In order to do this, each week I will feature an everyday person sharing his or her intimate encounter with God, also known as, you guessed it, a God moment. So, in order to be encouraged each week, I invite you to subscribe to the channel below, share these videos with your friends and family, and of course, leave your own God moments in the comment section with me below. I would love to read them. Today, I thought that I would share my own God moment because tomorrow is a very significant day for my family. It will be 3 years since my grandmother passed away, and I want to honor her life and also share a very important God moment that happened to me after she left this earth that really showed me another name of who God is and what He is in all of our lives. So, in February of 2013, my grandmother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The doctor gave her something like 8 or 9 weeks to live. My grandmother, true to fashion and true to who she was, looked that doctor in the eyes and said, "I hear you, but I believe the report of the Lord." And what that simply means is that my grandmother was a believer in God. She was a believer and confessor of Jesus Christ. And she believed that whatever God said about her condition was what it would be, not what the test results said. So my grandmother fought cancer valiantly for 2 years, and then there became a point where the chemotherapy was not working, and my grandmother made the decision with peace to come off of chemotherapy and to enjoy whatever time left that she had. And my family rallied around her decision. On February 22nd, 2015, my grandmother went home to be with the Lord. For Christians and other followers of God, we believe that when you leave this earth, that this is not it. This is just a stopping ground. This is for lessons to be learned. And when you leave here, you go home to live in heaven with God forever. So that's what I mean when I say she went home. She had several family members around her, including myself. My aunt said the 23rd Psalm. I prayed out loud, and other family members around her bed, my grandmother's bed, encouraged her as she left this earth. It, to this day, is still one of the most beautiful moments of my life. But like any other loss, grief set in very quickly. For about 3 weeks after my grandmother's passing, I had this anger rising up in me at God. And one night it came to a head. I remember having my head down and I was beating my pillows. I was wailing. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. How could you take the only person who ever loved me? You took the only person who ever loved me. This is what I felt at the time. I was so angry. I was so angry at God that I used words that I don't use in my everyday language. I was so angry that I passed out. Like, I do not remember falling asleep. I remember waking up the next day and knowing that I passed out from my anger. The next day, I did not have the energy to go to church. And I know for fellow churchgoers, you would say, well, that's when you're supposed to go. You're down, you're out. You're supposed to go to God and lay this at His feet. I hear you. I am telling you, I did not have that energy. I had the energy to drag myself out of bed, drag myself to the living room, sit on the couch and turn on the TV and let whatever was going to wash over me just come. I turn on the TV and it's on this show that Oprah has called Masterclass. And her masterclass at that time, she was featuring Robin Roberts. And Robin Roberts was talking about her relationship with her mom and how close they had been and how her mother had passed away. And she talked about how angry she had been at God. And as she's talking about this anger that she had for God, I feel myself beginning to cry. And then she looks at the camera, she deadpans, which makes me feel like she's looking into my soul, and she says, "But He can take it." And I lost it. I lost it. I remember feeling like God was speaking to me, because what I didn't say is, as I was coming down the stairs, I was already beginning to feel condemned. I felt really guilty that I had talked to God that way. I felt like the one being who can help you, the one who can get you through this, the God of all comfort, is who you should be going to, and you've talked to Him any kind of way, and why would he help you? And then for him to meet my need not even 12 hours later and tell me through Robin Roberts, I can take this pain that you have. I can take your anger. You're not condemned meant everything to me. And as I'm sitting there with this, my TV cuts off. And my remote, when I cut the TV on, I had tossed it so it wasn't even near me. And I just knew that God was speaking to me and wanted me to sit in that. So I sit, on my couch, and I just feel this palpable energy that I'm not alone. Like I knew that. And that's what a God moment is. A God moment may sound very simple or very silly to other people, but it's that moment, that intimate encounter that you have when that God is with you, that he helped you, that he's taking care of you, that he's providing for you. So that's what I'm going through at that moment, and I'm sitting with it. And I sit with it for about like a half an hour. And then I get this sense that, okay, Kenesha, you can cut the TV back on. So I get up, I get the remote, I cut it back on. And now Whoopi Goldberg is on. And what is Whoopi Goldberg talking about? Whoopi Goldberg is talking about her mother. She's talking about the fact that her mother is going to leave this earth, and she gets the news while she's in London. So she flies back to the States to be at her mother's bedside. And she tells her mother that it's okay for her to leave. And that begins to bring more emotion back to me, because on the day of my grandmother's transition, all of the family members that were there in her apartment were able to spend one-on-one time with her. She wasn't speaking or anything like that, but we got to say the things that we needed to say to her. And I remember telling my grandmother that she had ran her race well. I was taking a scripture out of the Bible, and I told her that it was time for her to leave and that it was okay and that we would be okay. And when I told my grandmother that we would be okay, she opened her eyes. She hadn't opened her eyes for about a week, but she opened her eyes and she stared at me. And I knew that that was something that she needed. And I listened to Whoopi saying that she told her mother the same thing and that her mother left. And she said that as she's sitting with her mother's passing, she had this thought that no one would ever love her the way that her mother had. And again, I'm crying. I'm crying because I had just told God that, I had screamed at him not even 12 hours before, and he's acknowledging this through Whoopi Goldberg to me. And Whoopi says no sooner that she has the thought that she can hear her mother saying to her, girl, please, you have a daughter and, this person and that person who will love you. And through my tears, I start to laugh, because I know that this is something that my grandmother would say to me. You have your mother, you have your auntie, you have friends in your life who will be there for you if you would just let them. That moment meant a lot to me, because God used two different people in the same span of about an hour to meet a need for me. And I would love to tell you that my grief went away that day. But a lot of us know that grief is a process. I had some good days. I had some okay days. I had some bad days. And I had some downright terrible days after my grandmother passed. But what I did not have to worry about after that was that God wasn't with me. I knew that he was with me. I knew that he was taking care of me in my grief. And I knew that he was healing my heart even on those terrible days. So that's my God moment. I want to use that to encourage you all today to know that he is Elroy. And Elroy was a name given to him by Hagar in the Bible. And it simply means the God who sees me. God sees you today. No matter what you are going through, no matter what trial or tribulation or situation that you feel like you are all alone, you are not all alone. He is with you. He hears you. He hears your prayers. Yes, even those angry prayers like the one that I had. And finally, he knows your name. And he knows how to meet you exactly where you are and give you what you need at that time. That's it. Have a great week. And I look forward to you seeing next week's interview. Thank you.